am an idealist, and as to why this church could not have said it any better than Jennifer O'Neill in speaking to John Wayne in the movie Rio Lobo. It's comfortable. I would also like to point out we have many teachers like Reverend Stephen Robinson, as he is referencing during Martin Luther King Jr. service on January 17th. One must take one's anger and learn about love. I, for one, didn't understand my anger, for I must have had some. I probably still have some. I am a transplant and was brought up Roman Catholic with its dogma, which became troubling to me. So many faiths believe they have their own exclusive stairway to heaven, to borrow from Led Zeppelin. As a teenager, I began reading fiction, philosophy, and Eastern culture. Learning about the Tao became very enlightening to me. How is it just good people can't go to heaven? Why do they have to join one club, one religion, or another? Now, moving forward, I remember why I started coming to this fellowship. In 2000-2001, I became the caregiver to my parents. I attended regularly to make friends and find support. Reverend Patrick Price was our minister, joined CUPS at the same time, because I have back-to-earth and pagan sentiments. I believe Unitarian Universalists are naturally good, caring people. I imagine we come from all walks of life. Many of us had Christian upbringings and wish to share what one learned from the message instead of dealing with the dogma. Tolerance is another key word. It has been said we are a refugee church. Well, that may be true. And why are we still here? Quite possibly for our own principles learned from Buddha, Gaia, Jesus, Muhammad, and taking part in social action for the betterment of our community. We side with love is actual. It's not a catchphrase. Now, in my river of life, seeking to build my own bridges, the idea of bring your own God arrived. It came from Sarah Lee Guthrie during one of her concerts with Johnny Iron. She was speaking about her father Arlo and purchasing the church, which was in his movie Alice's Restaurant. A pastor from, I believe, a Baptist church down the road talked with Arlo, then posed the question, and I am paraphrasing, what faith do you intend to implement at this church? This is Arlo's answer. This will be a bring your own God church. And to this day, the Guthrie Center is an interfaith church in the Old Trinity Church in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. I continue to be a seeker of knowledge and truth. This is what became apparent to me. I am here meeting folks who bring their own God or no God, as the case may be. We, within our community, build a presence by joining committees, volunteering in different capacities, and ostensibly demonstrating our love during the Pride Parade with our banner. We learn from our many teachers, for as Jessica Cross maintains when speaking about Buddhism along with Taoism, it gives us the metaphor for the river. I relate that to life is our own river. Quite possibly being here is a place for solace, acceptance, and love. A place to understand one's anger when it comes to injustice and transform it into the love of humanity. Right here, right now, UUCC. We make one of our main Unitarian Universalist principles work. Make it real. Believing in inherent worth and dignity of every person, and that's why I am here.
My name is Linda McLeod, and my journey to UUCC began when I was a child living just north of Seattle. I attended whatever churches my friends invited me to. My parents taught me Christian principles, but only Mother was a Christian and never attended church. Daddy worshiped in nature. But after all, I was an American, so I must have been a Christian. My first involvement with any church was in 1976, when I was invited to a local Bible doctrine evangelical church. I had 2 young children, and my marriage of 7 years was a little rocky, and I was lonely for friends. I thought this might be the time to give church a try. I soon became a born-again Christian. The people I met there were kind, caring folks, and an answer to a rough time in my life. My children thrived in this environment, and my husband soon joined us. It was the right place at the right time for me. I stayed in that evangelical community for many years, making close friendships and good memories. Despite all of this, there was always a nagging thought that I preferred to ignore, but my mind and heart knew something about this really wasn't me, though I wasn't willing to give up what I was gaining from it. We eventually moved to Phoenix and became heavily involved in building a new church with the same denomination we had left in Seattle. The doubts and judgmental attitudes became overwhelming, and the exclusivity of this belief system conflicted with what I believed about God. Within 18 months of this living in Phoenix, my husband lost his thriving business, and he ultimately left me, our 11-year-old son, and our 15-year-old daughter. He was gone. I mean, really gone. No, the perfect family, pillars of the church, were no more. No, I never did blame God, but I did start to open my eyes to the reality of my beliefs. That was 1985, and though I continued to hang on to my Christian faith, I did become a little more realistic about what my faith really was. In 1986, I met Richard McLeod. I met him through my work, and I assumed he was a Christian. He was kind, honest, caring, and had a gentle soul. What a shock when I discovered he was an agnostic. How could that be? My Christian friends told me I would go to hell. I would lose my salvation if I ever saw him again. By then, I had learned to listen with my heart and brain. Richard and I were married in June 1987. We recognized that spiritually we were of one mind. I struggled with the Christian label for another 20 years, honoring a God that loved and accepted all people. The Jesus I had studied loved unconditionally and left us with a guide for right living. I was discovering the freedom to accept others and their beliefs rather than condemning them. Our move to South Carolina in 1990 eventually gave Richard an opportunity to take on part-time Sunday jobs as a staff member, as music director in various churches, Christian churches, and I could attend with him. I soon found the hypocrisy of repeating creeds, sitting in Bible classes while people judged others for not being Christians, hearing racial slurs and homophobic remarks, caused me to start reading and researching more about just what I did believe. Richard and I agreed we had to find a church where theology and spiritual beliefs agreed with ours. The Unitarians sounded like a match for us, so on a Sunday in November of 2012, we walked into the UUCC, where Neil Jones was speaking. We have been there ever since. I was fed intellectually and spiritually and greeted by wonderful, welcoming people. No creeds, no need to believe just like everyone else. A freedom to express myself and not be told I was going to hell. Not having to make apologies for what I believed, and those great, friendly, welcoming faces. I soon found myself participating in many activities and later serving as chair of various committees. This was home. I knew I had found heaven right here on earth at UUCC.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and this is why the UUCC is my spiritual home. So a little bit about my background. I was raised in the Christian faith. My parents were Nazarene specifically, and they were very passionate about it, and they still are. And so growing up, going to church was never a choice for me. It was never an option, and it was never something that I enjoyed necessarily. I always felt very guilty, and I felt like church was just telling me what I couldn't do. So when I got to college, I took a break from any type of spiritual, religious activity. I went to USC, go Cox, and I didn't do anything of the sort. And I found that as I took that break, I really missed having a group of people, having that community that was all working towards being the best version of themselves and reflecting on how their week had been, what they could do differently next time. I really missed having that dedicated time to kind of reflect and think about my values and my morals and doing it in community with others. So I miss that a lot. And so one day I randomly Googled church with no God, because I was like, the world is huge. There has to be something like that somewhere. I did not expect there to be that in Columbia, but I found the UUCC I found our church, and I didn't attend for a long time because the whole idea of like any organized church or religion was not really appealing to me. But then later I was talking to my friend Brantley, who has a similar background as me, and she came to church with us for a while, so comes sometimes, and she thought that it was a very interesting idea, the UUCC, and we decided to go. So the day that we came actually ended up being a day where everything in the service was being explained. I think it was something with Interfaith Month, but it was in July, so I don't know exactly what it was, but it was very helpful because every part of the service was explained to us, and I think the focus of that day, the message was about the 7 principles. So I remember looking on the back of my program and seeing the 7 principles and realizing that is everything I believe in. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice and equity, the interconnected web of human existence. All of these things are what I had been searching for, a group of people who cared about these things and wanted to not tell me what I couldn't do, but tell me what I could do to make the world a better place. So it was all the aspects that I'd been looking for in terms of a group of people working together, definitely caring about each other, and the music was really great too. So I liked that a lot. And I came with Celeste and my friend Brantley, and I remember after the service, walking into the coffee hour, which I really miss seeing everyone in person, hello, at the coffee hour, and realizing that I didn't have any of the fear that I had had in any other church situation of being accepted for exactly who I am and what I believe in. And I remember introducing Celeste as my girlfriend and my partner to people, and it was absolutely no big deal, which was very refreshing after growing up in a very different environment than that. And the other thing that stuck with me, other than how friendly everyone was and how kind everyone was the lack of pressure. Every person we talked to was like, did you enjoy the service? If you did, come back, but you don't have to. So it was very opposite of that idea that I had been raised with, where you invite people to church and you invite them and you invite them and you invite them, and then eventually they come and they're good people after that. So I really appreciated the lack of pressure and the acceptance from everyone at that coffee hour. And afterwards, I remember we talked to Anna about about how great the music had been, and she kind of really liked that we were music people and we connected over that. And it just felt like no matter who we talked to in that room, we had things in common because we had these shared values. And I really appreciated that. So it's been a wonderful experience coming to the UUCC. I really enjoy using this time every Sunday to reflect and to work on myself, and doing so in community with others. So thank you guys for being my spiritual home, and that's why I chose it.
Hi everyone, my name is George Pappas. This is my wife Rebecca, and this is our baby girl Gabriella. A little bit about us. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm originally from a Roman Catholic family. I went to Catholic school all through elementary school. Was raised really in the church, but really haven't been to church in probably about the past 10 years, other than going to weddings. I've really kind of, grown out of that aspect of my life. And so really just, kind of looking for a new community to be a part of at this point.
I grew up Orthodox Jewish. My parents are Orthodox, so we went to synagogue growing up. But I actually ended up going to a Unitarian preschool, so I was kind of exposed a little bit earlier to Unitarian Universalism. And now that we've moved here and we're starting a family, we've been looking for a new community to join that can help us, with a sense of community in the area, but also spirituality that allows us to honor both of our cultural traditions of being Catholic and Jewish, while also kind of having a good value-based system for our family.
And we've just kind of started up with a group. I believe it was just a few weeks ago. We've been to a couple online meetings at this point. We've really enjoyed getting to meet everyone so far, and I really hope that we can meet everyone a little and get to know everyone a little bit more over the next few weeks. And really just glad to be here right now.